Meeting to order at exactly 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
James Basile,
Present.
Andy Dennison, Lydia Patty Ruffini. Here. Christopher Petras.
Here.
Aileen McNabb Coleman. Present. Robert Shea. He's supposed to be attending remote. Hans Petcher.
Hans. Yeah.
Mark Strong.
Here. Hans, stop yelling.
Heidi Nightingale is excused. Elaine Daly. Here. Trisha Kerr. Here. Christina Colarco. Here. Michael Didio.
Sure.
Brian Muldrow.
Brian's supposed to be on Zoom too.
David Gould.
Here. Okay. All right, everyone, could you please stand for the pledge? After that, for a minute of silence. For David Stevens, father of Len Marinelli and Lori Coleman, and Garrett Schaefer, son of Christy Capone. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Be seated. Public hearing, we have none tonight. Presentation, we'll start right off with Central. Brian Schultz is here with some other people from Central. Where's Brian? Oh, there he is, right there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Also with me tonight is Christopher Tuck, Deputy CEO of Centro. I'm Brian Schultz, CEO of Centro. Linda Beata is our Vice President of Finance. And Darlene Lattimore, who is the Cayuga County representative on our board of members. So I was asked to come here tonight to talk a little bit about Centro's funding and the money that Cayuga County sends to us on an annual basis. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail. I don't know how much time I have before I get the hook.
5 or 10.
Okay, beautiful. So Centro has a number of ways that we get our funding. Farebox, obviously. We also receive some what we call special line revenues, which is special contracts that we have with some educational facilities. We get advertising. We receive some what's called mortgage recording tax. We also get state dedicated funding. And then we get what's called a local match for a portion of our budget that's contributed to by each of the counties that we operate at. We operate in Onondaga, Cayuga, Oswego, and Oneida counties. So Cayuga County sends us about $162,000 per year towards our budget. We generate roughly $190,000 per year in farebox revenue, advertising that we do on our buses within the county. And then we have to operate the service here in Cayuga County, it costs around $3.3 million per year for us to operate the service. So we run that at roughly about a $3.1 million loss. When you take in our regular revenue minus the expenditures, where does that shortfall, how is that shortfall made up? It's made up from state operating assistance. Almost half of our budget or half of our expenses are paid for through the state of New York. We also receive what's called mortgage recording tax. Anybody that's gotten a mortgage recently, you're going to see a line on there that says mortgage recording tax. It's 1% of the mortgages that are recorded in each of the counties that we represent or we provide service in. We get 1/4 of that. Comes directly to us to help fund public transportation. The money that Cayuga County sends, as with all counties, is called an 18B match. Those funds have not changed in over 2 decades. So, going on around 25 years now, it's a formula that's created by the state legislature. It rolls down from the state legislature to the local county legislatures, and they basically send Cayuga County a bill and say, this is what you need to provide Centro to provide public transportation service in your community. We take those dollars, state operating, fare box, advertising, all the other sources, and we use that to provide the service that we do here, primarily in the city of Auburn. That's the 30,000-foot view of what I was asked to come and present. Is there any questions that I could help answer?
Anybody got anything for Brian? I know we talked about it probably 2 months ago in one of our meetings. I think it was only, maybe even going for the budget, but people wanted to know where the money was going once we gave it to Central. And so that's when I asked. I appreciate it, Brian, with you and your staff. Trish, Jim, go ahead first.
Just a quick question, and not to be answered tonight, but to know a little bit somehow the process if a route gets changed or how someone goes about changing the route. If you have information on that, I'd like to.
Sure, we can.
On how that process works.
We can send that on. The quickest answer I can give you is it's really ridership dependent. So, when we have our service area that we provide our fixed route service in, and we are constantly looking at and reevaluating that. And if it's a route that, a bus that's just not being used or a route that's not being used, we will then hopefully try to transition those resources to another part of the community that could use it.
Is there a survey or some sort of method where that you utilize to figure out where there is additional need, where people might not necessarily be reaching out to directly?
Yes, that's great. So right now we are doing that in Onondaga County with the hopes that we'll expand that out. We've got a survey out in the street that's called Exploring Tomorrow's Transit. And that's how we do come up with information like that. Survey the community. We look for feedback from riders and non-riders. So the surveys are really geared towards, if you ride the bus, how could we make it better? If you don't ride the bus, what can we do to entice you to become a Central rider? So we do that periodically, and hopefully we'll work that out system-wide.
Someone out in my area, for example, the Port Byron or Troop or Montezuma area, is interested in having bus access to places like Auburn. Are there any plans on making those types of things available?
We don't have any right now. And then again, it's going to be based on demand. So if we have one or two people reach out from an area and they were looking for some public transportation, that probably wouldn't be enough of a demand to have us reroute our current system or add additional service. If we were to have, typically what happens is there might be a new housing development, there could be new apartment complexes that go up, especially apartment complexes that have elderly tenants. We typically get requests when that happens. Could you look at providing service for the residents that would be moving in? One of the things we have been doing, and it's be a great place for a plug like this, is it's our hope that planning departments reach out to us in advance. Because all too often what happens is they build a structure and then call us and say, can you provide bus service? And, it's very difficult for us to at that point do it, especially if it's, pulling onto a property, because most properties aren't built to have a 40-foot or 30-foot transit bus pull into their parking lot. So if we're involved early on in the conversation, the chances of getting public transportation are great.
Can I ask one more follow-up
Sure.
question? Who would we contact if we know that there are a group of people who would be interested in finding out more about this type of availability?
You can email me directly. I provided my card, and then I could take that email and route it to the correct people.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Brian. I think Trish had a question. Trish?
Yeah, Yeah, sorry I can't be there in person. Thank you for your presentation. One of the reasons I think we wanted to have you come and speak before the body was to get a sense of the planning that's happening in light of the Micron development. And we were wondering about potential opportunity for transport of workforce from our county over to that site using public transportation. If you could speak a little bit to that and how you're involved in planning to meet the needs of that development.
And that's thanks for the question, because that's something that we're actually that speaks to what I was just talking about. They got us involved early on. We actually had a meeting with them last week, or within the last 2 weeks, talking with their executives about how we could service that project and bring employees to the facility directly and be able to, whether or not they want us on property, pulling up in front of the property, or is on a street off of the property. When you can imagine that facility in and of itself is just going to be a massive structure. If we get you close to it, it could still be a walk to get from a bus stop to the front door. So we're even talking to them about shuttling from, park and rides, or from a park and ride that we would drop off, and that they would shuttle people directly to the front door of the facility. Then the next step would be to also gauge interest from the outlying counties that we service to see if there would be any intra-county demand for public transportation. So it's something we're exploring, and it's something we'll certainly look into.
Trish, did you have any follow-up question?
Just, I guess I would want to say that transportation's come up in one of the committees I'm on related to housing for planning for Micron. And we would love to be involved in those conversations as they move forward.
Okay, yeah, if you'd like, I provided my contact information. Shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction on who on my staff you could talk to about that, or maybe have come and talk to one of your committees meetings.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to have asked Amanda to send out that information for Brian tomorrow, so all the legislators will have it. Brian, anything you want to conclude with? We appreciate you and your staff coming. I know you guys are busy, and especially, with Micron coming, you got a lot of planning to do.
We do. We're always planning. Thanks for the opportunity. We stand here. Our mission is to serve the public. And if you have any questions or any follow-up, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to do our best to get you the answers you're looking for.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Staff, thank you. Okay, our next presentation will be the small business grant. I think everybody in the room knows what we're doing on that. It's been going on for probably 6 months now. Steve and Shireen are here. There was, I believe, some information passed out. So Shireen, you want to say a few words, please?
Put my glasses on. This audience. Great. Good evening, everyone. The Cayuga County Coronavirus Small Business Grant Program is now complete, and we are happy to report that we are currently finalizing the process for dispersing the awards to eligible applicants. Prior to moving into the summary, I personally want to express my gratitude for all the committee members who worked on this grant. Their time and effort put forth was 100%. It contributed to the success of this program and is very much appreciated. 4 of the 5 members of the committee are in attendance today. Besides myself, we have legislator Brian Woodrow on Zoom. Hi, Brian. We have legislator Lydia Patty Ruffini, the Cayuga County Director of Planning and Economic Development, Steve Lynch, and one member unfortunately could not make it today, and that is Kim Emperato from Lions Bank. So thank you to you all. Our committee also worked very closely with CETA, and we thank them for their time and work with this application screening process for this program. Prior to this meeting, we, the committee, provided the legislature a written summary consisting of the details of the work put forth for this program. We hope that you've had enough time to review it. It was full of a lot of detail. The summary outlined the initiation of the program, beginning with the resolution that you passed on April 26, 2022, to the endpoint of the program of dispersing awards to 37 Cayuga County small businesses. We did include in the summary a table, which consisted the location of the small businesses that were receiving the grant awards and the total funds to be issued following the countywide outreach and an extensive 8-week application window. Following all the details in the summary, which basically encompass the program, the applications, and the awards dispersed, the grant program committee also provided a recommendation for the legislature to consider regarding the balance of the remaining funds. This recommendation is to work with CETA and program partners to release round 2 of the grant program with the $200,000 balance of funds, and doing so using the same program requirements and guidelines with an extensive outreach effort to the small businesses throughout the county. So this concludes our information for you tonight, and we are open for any questions.
Questions, please. Yes, Andy.
Just a quick question. I know you sent us stuff, but just so the public know where you said 37.
Yes.
How did that break down, like Auburn versus surrounding area?
The city of Auburn had 22. We had 1 from Aurelius, 1 from Cato, 1 from Cayuga, 3 from Fairhaven, 1 from Mentz, 1 Port Byron, 1 Scipio, 1 Senate, 1 Sterling, 1 Union Springs, 1 Victory, and 1 in Leeds.
And you will be sending it out again, right?
That is our recommendation to the legislature. Yes.
Maybe the citizen can put that,
I'm sorry, Andy.
maybe the citizen can put that breakdown just so people can see where it
Yeah.
went, rather than
Just
just.
give me a copy of that and I'll forward it to the citizen. Good
Absolutely.
idea, Andy. Jim?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this round 2 that we're calling it,
Yeah.
or that, do we have a timeline for that? So too early to ask that question. You can say, shut up, Jim.
No, I would never say shut up, Jim. It is something that we discussed, but not in depth.
Okay.
So we can confirm that with you at a later time.
I'll follow up with the reason I'm asking is because we have timelines on all this funding. And if, something else is short, or moving money back and forth, we won't be able to have time to do that too.
Yes, I know, in our discussion, it will work within that timeline.
Good question. Elaine?
There is just over 200,000
Yes.
left, and the awards are going to stay at $10,000. Everything's going to stay the
Everything's
same.
going to stay the same.
Applications, the whole process.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yes.
I would like to say that there are very important people who aren't always recognized. And in this case, Shireen and Steve, you guys really made this happen. If it weren't for the 2 of them, this would not have been able to fly as well as it did. Also, CETA, Maureen Reister, thank you very much. And Brian, you're great to work with. I appreciate you. But really, Steve and Shireen, you made it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny.
And we can't forget Kim. I know you
No, no.
mentioned Kim,
The
but
committee members were great to work
she was
with.
our civilian. Okay, anything else? Thank you so very much.
I had a question. if
Oh,
I
I'm
could
sorry,
go.
Tricia's got a question. Go ahead, Trish.
Yeah, just a couple questions. The first is regarding the businesses that received these dollars. Is there any intent to publicize the businesses that were assisted? And then my second question related to the ones that were deemed ineligible, specifically related to the gross receipts. is there any consideration? I was just curious what that looked like and how close that some of them were to that threshold that was set. And whether or not there's any consideration for moving the threshold based on those businesses that weren't able to be assisted.
Please, thank you, Lydia.
Thank you for your question, Trish. So the second question I'd like to address first. There was obviously a line that had to be drawn in the sand. And we did discuss how we would manage something that came close. And really the answer was we had to objectively make a decision based on what we agreed to be providing with all of the limits in place. Otherwise, there were folks who did not apply because they did not meet the standards that were spelled out. So to be fair, we followed it all to the letter of the program. The first question was, what was your first question?
The release of the names.
That's something that we talked about can be FOIA'd. There are some folks who may want to not have that information published. So in consideration of them, anyone who would like to FOIA that information has that opportunity.
Does that include legislators?
No, that does
Okay.
not include legislators. And
All
I-
right, thanks. I would be interested in seeing that info. Thank you.
And Shireen said that she would be forwarding that information, Trish.
Okay, everybody thanked everybody, but I'd like to thank Lydia and Brian because you took a lot of time as the others. But as both legislators, I appreciate what you've done.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
I have my hand up. I just want to echo what Lydia said. Trish, I did consider that when we had our committee of other people that were very close of making the threshold, and as a team, and this is a group effort, we could not. I didn't win that argument, but the point was overall, I actually think that was the right decision, following legislator Lydia's lead on that, because I never considered the people that did not apply based on that. So I'm gonna echo what she said. Also, some of these people, the information is public information. As legislator Lydia said, we can actually, it can be foiled. However, I thought it'd be inappropriate to post all the information out in there, but people can get the information. And I don't even know if we need to, and I will ask Chris Promo, if somebody wanted a list of it, could we tell that information, or do they need to go through the FOIL process? That's what I wanted to ask Chris.
Yeah, you can release that to whomever you choose. It's public information. Obviously, the tax returns that were submitted as part of the applications, none of that goes out. I don't believe that even the committee is privy to that. But as far as the names and the dollar amounts, sure.
Yeah, so people can call their local legislator and they get that information.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else? Thank you again for working on that grant. As I said, it's been 6 months. It's really the fruition, and it's doing a great job. It's helping a lot of our business people.
Thank you.
Okay, the next presentation will be Riley Shortliff, our CMO director. He has a short presentation with some video or slides. Thanks, Riley. It's about the fire training center.
Amanda, Shay's trying to get on, you can't get on.
All right, good evening, everyone.
See her hearing. Go ahead.
Yeah, give us just a second. We'll try to get somebody on. Not working?
No, this is working fine.
I
Bob,
mean, Bob.
Bob can't get on.
That's what I mean.
I'm
Trying to
not
get on.
sure why. I
Okay.
can maybe run out and see if IT can.
Yeah, if you could try to help him, I know he knows. Okay, Riley, go ahead.
All right, so Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Emergency Services Office, I was asked by the Judicial and Public Safety Committee to give a project update on our needs assessment and proposal as it relates to the Public Safety Training Center, which is more commonly known as the Fire Tower. Starting with just a bit of brief background, I'm not going to be as brief as 30 seconds or 30 words as was requested before this. If you click on to the next slide. The fire tower, or the fire training facility as we know it, was originally constructed through 2001 to 2004. The ideal goal was to have a burn tower or burn building and a classroom facility that was capable of teaching the 28 fire departments in the county, Auburn Fire, and being open and available for the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office and probation departments for training as necessary. That was completed. However, additional requests have been made 2007, 2015, 2018 to allow for vehicle storage buildings. They were not approved for funding. We'll talk in just a moment about what that is dedicated to, but really the main issue is we started seeing some problems and complications with meeting OFPC, or Office of Fire Prevention and Control, standards for teaching at that facility. And in 2021, the county received a letter stating that the building was unfit or did not meet the standard for classroom instruction. Touching on that, just a few of the highlights were that it is a pole barn. It was designed as a storage facility. It was used as a classroom facility. But the building there has long been a concern for fire protection specialists in the county, that we have to reach to outside fire departments to hold classroom sessions, expect students and instructors to pack up, come back to the training facility for live fire or skills trainings. And that at the bottom line, the building does not meet the standard for classroom delivery. And that was a letter that was received in 2021 by the office. And since then, any primary class, be it exterior or interior, has had to have the classroom portion of training conducted off-site. In 2020, the office conducted a project needs assessment and investment justification. Of it, the primary goals were to highlight needing a significant addition or a new building for a classroom capable of holding up to 35 students, that meets OFPC standards, that has new technology involved, EMS training areas, and backup EOC space. An equipment storage building that's capable of housing our 16 trailers. We have 16 trailers dedicated to mass casualty intervention, swift water rescue, high angle, low angle rope rescue, ATVs. We can go on. I'll be brief tonight. Those trailers, if we do not have an agreement with an outside county department, all stay outside. And you'll see a picture in just a moment of what it looked like in 2018 when we had a snowstorm and they were buried. What does that do? It increases our costs in terms of storage, in terms of repair, in terms of maintaining approximately $1.6 million in mobile assets. Additional increases would be the add of a combustible material storage building. We can't keep hay, pallets, other dry materials outside. And then also looking at improvements to the site. So this process, even though it's been going on since 2020 and receiving a letter in 2021, really started to take a renewed energy in October of 22. We worked with Bergman and Associates as a selected architecture firm to do a site survey. No contaminant levels of concern were reached on the site. In December, we met with Bergman, we being Emergency Services Office staff, state fire instructors, including several that have decades of experience of training at this facility and within the county, reviewed 5 separate designs offering input and edits. We reviewed a second slate in January, and we moved forward with selecting what we've called option 1A.2. That has our ideal classroom, our ideal vehicle storage building, and our ideal site improvements. And that's where we've moved to till tonight, where we're at the 20th. Some brief highlights on the classroom. You'll see that there is the existing building. It would be the portion going to the north, and then the proposed shell or proposed addition goes to the south where it juts out. That's approximately 2 feet past the current boundary. It'd be roughly a 2,200-foot addition with HVAC, electrical. It adds 2 showers in the renovated existing space for decontamination. Our current decontamination solution is utilizing on-scene fire apparatus for hose downs afterwards. It offers a breakout room and separate testing areas to allow individuals that have special testing need requirements to do so in a private or a limited distraction environment. As a kitchen space, that's compared to our current cupboard, microwave and fridge that are out there to allow for student meals. And it incorporates a mezzanine that offers several different types of integrated training props. Mezzanine bailouts, those are something that we are expected to train on an annual basis. That would allow us to do it year round versus using just the tower outside. Going on to the site itself, we'd be looking at constructing a 4,000 vehicle storage building with 8 bays and an equipment cage of a comparable size to our current. We would be relocating our confined space prop, vehicle extrication pad, and constructing a new Class A material storage building. The current Class A building is very close to unusable, is how I think we would best do that. It integrates a second hydrant that would allow us to make a water supply without stretching a line in front of our vehicle storage building. And it would incorporate asphalt paving for the entire site and to better establish parking zones for student, instructor, and on-call or duty officer responses. Looking at the total view, you can see just a general 3D rendering of what we would be looking at. We have a very unique piece of property at Quarry Road without bringing in a heavy amount of fill or incorporating larger land expansions. So this is making the best of what we have with that site. Again, you can see centralized parking to the south, the expanded addition going to the south, vehicle storage building, the add-on of a burn pod, which would reduce wear and tear on the live fire tower trainer itself, and a few other features. Going on to our budget highlights, there are just a few that we're looking at. We're looking at approximately $240,000 for that new classroom addition, about $330,000 going towards the vehicle storage building, site grading, new asphalt paving, about $22,000 for new site lighting. I know that was a question at JPS. I wanted to incorporate that. I did just italicize to bring your attention that Bergman and Associates gave this based on current industry trends. They did not go directly to a contractor. They had a third-party estimator. So $31,000 in change for project cost escalation, that may or may not apply. And then additional costs towards staff, contractors' fees, et cetera. And if you can look at that picture, that gives you an idea of what we have in terms of assets that are covered in snow and virtually unable to be used, at least until they're dug out and pulled out. Total cost of the project is about 1.66 million to 1.75 for the project. Where do we go from here? To sum it up, that comes back to the legislature. We need to determine a funding source, whether it's ARPA funding or otherwise, follow the RFP process, and depending upon your direction, depending upon contractor selection and material availability, I would love to see this be constructed through the course of the summer and open and available for classes in the fall. That timeline is all subject to change and subject to it. In a nutshell, that's what we're looking at with the fire tower. I told you I would try and be brief. Again, not kept to 30 words or 30 seconds, but that's where we sit with the fire tower project.
What are the vehicles that are being stored there? Are these those trailers that have all the equipment? That's what you mean by vehicle storage?
Correct.
So those where all the assets are that you have will be under a cover?
We have 16 trailers. 8 bays will not be enough for them. We have agreements in place with various county departments. We have a trailer in Senate. We have one that'll be moving to Owasco. We have 3 in Moravia.
They'll eventually all be covered, some on this site and then other places.
Correct.
But those are the vehicles you're referring to.
Correct. Currently, we have 8 trailers on site that are not covered. And I get it. In this winter, we're not looking at 2 feet of snow, not on us right at this point. But in any other year, that's something that would severely hamper our efforts to be able to respond within the county.
And there's hundreds and thousands of dollars of things in those.
A rough estimate is about $1.6 million, not incorporating the last roughly 18 months of grants and additional equipment add-ons. That number's only gone up.
Questions? Any?
Just a,
Riley, thanks.
just a comment.
Go ahead, Mark.
I personally like to thank Riley for all the work him and his staff have done. This has been an ongoing project, had countless hours. Riley and I have burned the midnight oil a couple of different times. I want to thank Riley and everybody, the hard work that they put in a very short amount of time. Thank you, Riley.
I'd like to echo that and express my sincere appreciation for the support from the Judicial Committee, but also a tremendous shout out to my state fire instructors, Poole, Green, Chernesky, as well as Harry Sherman as my deputy director. These guys have decades of combined experience teaching at that facility. They know its inadequacy, they know its finer points, and some of them have been there since it was built. So they're very aware of the improvements that lie ahead. And so if there's no further questions, thank you.
Anything else at all? If not, Riley, thank you very much. Very good presentation. Okay, next is privilege of the floor. Right?
I'd like to give Jason Meyer privilege of the floor.
Okay. Jason? You have about 3 to 5 minutes.
Good evening. How's everyone? Thanks for having me, for doing that, Elaine. Thank you for having me, Mr. Gould. And thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. 30 years ago, I was a guy who ran the streets. For 15 years after that, I became a drug addict living under a bridge. That's the short story, right? My daughter, 2 years ago got her face kicked in behind East Middle School, right? She took 39 hits to the face, 4 stomps to the head, and 4 kicks to the face, right? Let that set in for a minute. It was interesting to me because it's the first time in my life that I decided not to handle something with violence. I looked at the girl who hurt my daughter and I saw anger. I saw the same thing that I dealt with when I was her age. Nobody cared, right? So I started doing some work and I realized that in Cayuga County, there are a lot of youth that nobody cares about, that nobody has time for, that we're all too busy, single moms, single dads. And what do? They turn to the streets, drugs, fighting, stabbing, killing, you name it. And I only know that because I found myself on Rock Ave one day surrounded by 39 youth, smoking blunts, yelling at me, screaming at me. I went back to the clinic that I worked for at the time and I said, "We don't have anything for youth." And I was met with, "I know." And I'm like, "What do you mean you know? You have to pick your fights," I was told. The study that I work for, Healing Communities, we come to the conclusion that we have to invest in our youth, right? If we don't invest in our youth, what's going to happen? We're going to be dealing with the same thing we're dealing with now: heroin epidemics, crack epidemics, people being homeless under bridges, what have you. Right? What did I do? I started HELPRA, Helping Empower Local People Recovery Associates. HELPRA started LJ Safe Place. LJ stands for Layla, that's my daughter, and Janasia, the girl who beat her up. A safe place for youth to go if mom is using drugs. A safe place for youth to go if the teacher won't listen. A safe place for youth to go if they're of a sexual identity that's not normally approved of. Fully integrated youth to be a community. I'll end with this. When you wake up in the morning, do you have a purpose? What is it? My purpose is to do this job that I'm doing right now and fight for youth and give them a voice. I wasn't going to do this, but I felt that if I don't have a voice, if I don't advocate, how can I expect youth to advocate for themselves? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else privilege of the floor? Any of the legislators? Okay, if not, moving on. Proclamations, none of them will be given out tonight. They've all been given out before. Glenn Fritz, Day in Cayuga County, January 28th, 2023. Chris, is that something that you brought forward?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Like to explain it a little?
I appreciate that, and I thank you to the rest of the legislature. Glenn Fritz has served our community as a fireman for over 50 years and also as a town justice and village justice.
Okay. And that proclamation has been given.
I'm sorry?
That's been given to him already.
Yeah, I presented it at their annual banquet.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Cayuga County salutes Jack G. Kennedy, Eagle Scout, February 26, 2023. And this is quite an accomplishment for young kids. I know I was an Eagle Scout and I'm very proud of it to this day. And it's quite an accomplishment to go through what you have to go through to become an Eagle Scout. So I wish Jack was here, but he's already been given that. So I congratulate him very, very much, him and his family. It takes a family to work on that. So congratulations, Jack. Problem Gambling Awareness Month. I saw that as I don't know if it was a special on TV or whatever it may have been, but I saw it. I really wanted to let everybody know that that is for March, for the awareness month of March. And just so everybody knows that it's legal in the state now. We all know that, but we got some people that are really having some problems with it. So whatever you can do to help those people, I appreciate. American Heart Month, February 2023. And that's already been given out too. So anybody that's had anybody that's lost a loved one from a heart attack, heart stroke, whatever it may be, please remember them in that this month. Okay, minutes to approve, January 24th, 2023. Can I have a motion?
Second, Basile.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Communications and announcements. I have none unless one of you do. Nothing? All right. Doctor, are you on Zoom, Doc? Dr. Durant?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can. Go ahead, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be with you. Also joined with me by phone tonight is our chair of our board of trustees, Tony Francischelli. Tony, thanks for taking the time. Just a couple of brief updates at the college over the last few weeks. We continue to, be in the early stages of budget development for next year. Our budget cycle really begins now and developing, revenue scenarios for next year, as well as starting to identify the operational expense requests from area managers. So those requests will be coming in, and then be working with our college trustees over the next several weeks on identifying points for tuition and fees for next year, as well as, all the other key aspects of decisions for revenue. That ties in well with the advocacy time related to state funding for community colleges. I'll be spending some time over the next month, meeting with and talking with our state representatives and with my colleagues from SUNY to be, looking to, advocate on behalf of continuing the floor funding for community colleges, as well as an increase in state funding as it relates to adding a percentage to the floor for us to be able to secure. One of the big pieces in the state budget, I may have mentioned it last month, that we're excited about is that at least in early stages, the capital match for our police academy on our Fulton campus is included to be funded. And that, we're hopeful will be in the enacted budget in April as we move ahead in the planning for that particular project. I certainly continue to thank the legislature and Chair Gould and our sheriff for their support in this project. We've been working with our architect in Beardsley and working on designs and estimates for that project. And hopefully in the coming months, I'll be able to share more. We're hopeful if all the stars align and both the process for establishing the funding at the state level match to the funds we receive from Oswego County, along with the design and bid ready docs, we're hopeful to be able to seek all the approvals necessary on the finance side to be able to begin construction later this summer in 2023, which would be of lightning speed in higher education, but one that we know is important for the academy. It's important for the industry, and one that we hope to be able to move through as quickly as possible. In addition to that, our college trustees this month had given me the authority to execute and award the bids related to construction for the Workforce Development Center and the building formerly known as Cornell Cooperative Extension. That renovation will be approximately a $4 million capital project for the college. And it would not be possible without the support of the Ledge, the support of the funding we received through CFA and some local philanthropic groups, as well as our partnership and the donation that we were able to receive from the Cornell Cooperative Extension Board. So many, many thanks to countless members of current Ledge and past legislatures, as well as board members for each of those respective groups. That being said, I'm hopeful that the construction will mobilize later this winter, early spring, with a hopeful target date of completion in about 1 year once they begin, as long as the supply chain issues and other aspects related to the new reality of construction can be as streamlined as possible. Lastly, given the construction is moving forward, meeting with leadership and today with Cornell Cooperative and Cayuga Works with Kelly King to be able to talk about the programmatic opportunities that having a physical space may provide for us to be not only thinking about what our current operations need to continue to thrive and serve our communities in the right way, but what else could we be doing together to be able to appropriately connect with more individuals, more businesses, and to be able to be the incubation necessary to be able to support business growth and to help train and educate our residents and citizens to be able to be prepared for the new and emerging workforce needs within our community. And also just want to take a moment, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. I want to thank Chair Gould and the leadership when it comes to sort of mobilizing a number of people here in Cayuga County to be able to talk about, Micron and how we're positioning ourselves for it. And the college, given our facilities on our Fulton campus in Oswego County, we've also been invited to participate in a similar type process in Oswego County that we're fortunate to be a part of. And I'm learning many different things here that are going to be able to be helpful, I think, to continue the regional exploration and mobilization necessary to have that be successful. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Brian? None at all. What about on Zoom? Trish, Brian, any questions?
No questions, I guess. Just actually one question. One of the things that we've been advocating for here in Albany is this change to the governor's budget with a 20% holdback on funding for SUNY community colleges until there's a plan submitted to outline how baseline floor funding isn't needed moving forward in the future. And I was just curious if you were advocating for that to be changed, and also just to let you know that NISAC and all of the counties in the state are advocating for that change.
Yeah, of course, we'll be continuing to advocate for that to be changed. I mean, the whole purpose of the floor in my mind is for us to be able to have certainty in what we can anticipate with revenue from the state. That type of certainty, as I will continue to say, is really essential for us at the college. And as you know, as a trustee, Trish, to be able to make decisions for both current spending and future planning. And, you know, our ability to be as agile as possible for new program development or to be able to sustain the programs that we offer today. One of the critical components to that is to have as much comfort as possible with what we can think we're going to be able to realize with revenue. And for those that, you know, are continue to be a little bit newer to community college funding, our only certainty at this point is the funding that our sponsor gives us. And in approximate numbers of a $26 million budget, you know, that certainty of our sponsorship is approximately $3 million. So everything else is dependent on enrollment and other pieces. That's why the floor, state aid floor, gives us several more $1 million of certainty that allows us to make decisions on tuition, make decisions on new program development, and continued focus on, you know, being aligned with emerging regional needs. So yes, Trish, thanks for bringing that up. We want to continue to advocate for that change, and we want to have certainty of the 100% floor and hopefully a cost of living above that to be able to be adjusted and raise the floor for moving forward for next year. But at this point, I appreciate the clarification, so thank you.
Anybody else? Tony, would you like to say anything as president of the Board of Trustees? Guess not. Okay, everyone. Any other questions for Brian or anybody else regarding the college? If not, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you all. Be well.
Thanks. Committee reports, individual legislators reports. Anybody have anything on the Zoom? Brian, Trish?
I can just give a quick update here at the NISAC conference in Albany, and just to say how grateful I am to be here. Appreciate Sheila helping to arrange the travel. It's been an interesting couple of days. There's been a lot of policy discussions and votes on resolutions that are going to be forwarded to the governor and to our state reps around budget issues and concerns, especially unfunded mandates, a lot of which we've talked about already as a body. The Medicaid intercept was probably the feature of the event. There's a major press release today, unanimous vote on rolling that back. And so the message that came across on that was that we should be advocating very loudly with our state and federal reps around that. And Dave, I know you've been doing that, so I appreciate that. But that's probably all I have for now. I can probably forward some additional things after the end of the conference.
Yeah, that would be great if you and Bob both could forward us some stuff that you've learned down there and that you acquired. We appreciate it, Trish. Okay, moving right along. Chairman's report. I will start off with welcoming all the CSEA members that are here. I know you're going to be coming to every meeting from now on, so thank you. Yeah, right. And I'm sure you can't wait to get out of here, but we do have a lot of things to talk about in executive session. That will be following all our resolutions. As a department head for a long time, I hated sitting here while the legislature went in that other room and talked for an hour and a half, while we were sitting here after working 10 hours a day already. So I've made it my priority to make sure when we have executive sessions, it's after the meeting so everybody can leave and doesn't have to stay. All right, Micron. I know that Brian mentioned Micron. We do have a big committee here in the county. We started that probably 6 months ago. Actually, I started meeting with the business people before Micron was even announced. So I think we're a step ahead of certainly not Onondaga County, but the other surrounding counties. And we've been meeting once a month, full group. Center State is on it. Some important people from Onondaga County, and certainly our four subcommittees. And it's very interesting what's going on with Micron. It's definitely going to happen. I know some people didn't think it was. I was kind of leery myself, but after all that we've learned in the last 6 months, I'm convinced that they're going to follow through with this. Cayuga County is going to benefit from this. I don't know how yet, but we are. We're working closely with the city to make sure housing, power, energy, whatever it may be, jobs. We have all the subcommittees working on that. So we will be ahead of the game, and we already are. So thank you, everyone, for doing that. Building project. I think you all know that we're moving very quickly on this. It's been 22 years since it's been brought up. We have something that we will be talking about in the executive session today. So I think that's the start of the of hopefully getting our ducks in a row and finally having something done. Fire Academy. Thanks, Riley, for that presentation. It was great. I'm hoping we can finish that Fire Academy, or at least have it started by fall at the latest. Summer would be great. It's really needed in this county. I'm sure 90% of you probably have never been out there, but it really is, it's a disaster. No one should be in that building at all. Done by the state, so no one should be in the building. And that's embarrassing to a county like us. We should have our own fire academy, our own fire tower, and we're going to have it because we need it. Our firemen need to be protected and trained, and that's what they've done. That's where they're going to do it. Contracts. We've got one settled, one almost settled. One that we haven't even started yet, which will be starting after tonight, and CSEA. And I'm sure that's one reason maybe a lot of you are here. I, for one, can't wait for our next CSEA negotiation. We as I say we, I'm one of you too. So it's dragged out for 3 or 4 months now. I am convinced that I'm going to make sure this is moving along much more quickly than it has. We need to get some progress done on this. We need to bring the resolutions back to the ledge, and we need to approve something so you guys can get a great, decent contract. I'm working my butt off of that. I think there's several of them. It's not just me. So please believe that when I say that. We are working very hard. We will continue until we get a ratification of your contract. Okay. All right. As always, I want to thank the department heads. I want to thank complete staff in the Cayuga County, and certainly Shireen and Lynn for putting some grants together. We're going to have a grant manager very soon, which this county should have had years ago, but they will go through that person. We'll try to reach out to every grant we can, and hopefully we'll be successful. All right, I appreciate that. Let's go right on to the resolutions, and we'll start right off with Hans and Ways and Means. Hans, please.
Mr. Chairman, Ways and Means has 5 resolutions. Unless somebody wants one separated, I'd like to offer them in the bundle.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Thank you, Hans. Health and Human Services, Elaine.
Health and Human Services had 19 resolutions, 16 was pulled. Anyone was at Ways and Means. I went through them one by one, but I would be happy to offer them as a bundle from HH1 to HH19 minus the pulled HH16, or discuss anyone that anyone wants separated out.
Move it, Lydia.
Second, Basile, thank you for going through those one by one.
Welcome.
I'd like one separated 18.
Which one, Mark?
18.
All right. So any discussion on the others? Leaving 18 out for now. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. All right, HH 18, Elaine.
HH18 is to authorize the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature and the director of the Youth Bureau to enter into a contract with HELPRA for LJ's Safe Place using ARPA funds.
You want to talk about it a little bit, or you want me to?
You start if you like, and
Well, why don't you explain a little bit what it's about, and then I'll
Hang on.
Nice deal.
Move it for discussion.
Yeah.
Second.
Right. Any discussion other than Elaine right now? Go ahead, Elaine.
okay, to the best of my knowledge, this had gone through both committees, but I do understand there are some concerns that have been raised at this point, whether it has to do with HELPRA being a LLC, that the fact that the board is just being established, it really is a one-man show. And I thought, from what I heard, there was going to be some concerns about leveraging the $30,000 at this time. And if that is the case, there was discussion about potentially tabling this resolution for a period of 4 to 6 months, giving the opportunity for the center, the youth center to open and an opportunity for Helpra to come back and talk about the operation, the impact it's had, and the youth that it served. And if that would increase the comfort level of making that $30,000 donation, actually not donation, but the allocation of the ARPA funds. For that reason, I would support, if the majority would support tabling this. I certainly don't want it to come up and fail.
It's a great explanation. Anybody else want to say anything before I say something? Nothing at all? Okay, I'm making a motion that we table HH 18. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on it? If not, all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And then this does bring the opportunity to relook at the operation and have the board or the youth talk about the impact.
Absolutely. And the reason is this is a startup new program, and we really want to see what happens when we spend our 30,000 taxpayers, $30,000. So we really need to find out what success this is going to have and the impact in the county it's going to have on our citizens. So again, thank you for that. Elaine, you're done then.
I'm done with.
Okay, government ops, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Government operations had 9 resolutions. GO 8 was pulled. GO 3 requires a 2/3 vote, and GO 4 I'm going to be abstaining from and allowing my vice chair to handle that. So at this time, I would offer GO 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 9 as a bundle.
Move it.
Second it, Mark.
Any discussion on any of those? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry, was somebody?
No, she just was saying
Oh,
aye.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Okay, thanks again, Mr. Chair. The GO3 was tabled for more discussion. It's the creation of a records retention administrator in the records retention center. The Sue is here to answer any questions. I think we've hammered out all the questions regarding that. This has been through the civil service process, et cetera. So at this time, I'll move GO3.
There's a second.
Second, Basile.
Discussion. I think everybody, Sue has reached out to everybody that has needed information. I think she's done a great job doing that. I think we all know, if you've read your paperwork, what this consists of and why she's asking for this. So I am certainly in favor of it.
Yeah.
Sue, would you like to say a word about it?
I think to sum it up, it's, before we had a paper-centered records retention center, it's going to a digital one. From training to emptying out an entire record center and changing everything about how we see records, how we share them, et cetera, make them available to the public. So it's a big endeavor. Yeah, that's what this has something to do with.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of GO3?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passed. Chris, what else you got here?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Petcher will handle this one, and I'd like the record to reflect that I am abstaining from GO4.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, GO4, if I go off it.
okay. Second,
Second it, Mark.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, you're done.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Bob Shea is at the conference.
He's actually on now.
He's trying to get on. Is he on now?
Yep.
There he is. Ah.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bob. You want to run your committee then? No? All right, Lydia's here in person. We'll let Lydia do it. She's the vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, the planning committee would like to would like to have PL 1, 2, and 3 moved as a bundle.
I'll move it.
Second,
Second, Basile.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Thank you, Lydia. Andy, Public Works.
Public Works, PW1 was just a draft. So I'd like to There's gonna be 2 or 3 that for discussion. I would like to bundle 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, and 14, and leave 10, 11, and 12 out.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any discussion on those resolutions?
Just a question, is
Go
the
ahead.
draft one is going to be filled out after the fact, after the executive session or whatever happens?
Yes,
Okay, we'll come back and pass it.
absolutely.
All right.
Any nice step, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
All right, so 10, 11, and 12, I know there was differing opinions on some. 10 was authorizing to fill a part-time typist.
Move it, Mark.
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passed.
I was opposed to that one.
Andy's on, Andy,
PW 11 was the support of the Snowmobile Trail Development and Maintenance Fund. Promise I'm not gonna say anything.
I'll move it, Mark.
Second.
discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I could just comment, I had concerns about this. Andy, in support of this resolution, somehow managed to talk me out of it. But after further reflection, I will be supporting this in the hopes that the snowmobile clubs are able to recoup their money.
Okay, so I didn't talk you out of it. I was just explaining.
That's for the record.
I was explaining how little the state really gives them, and now we're raising a fee to supposedly give them
Trish has a
more.
question.
So,
Trish, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say, I'm not sure this resolution goes far enough. There were questions about, what happens to the registration fees that are paid in during years like this, when there's not a lot of snow, even though there's still costs incurred by the clubs, and ongoing equipment maintenance costs, and placement of signage and things like that. For that reason, I'm going to vote no. I have reached out, however, I made a great contact here in Albany, and I have reached out for more information about those registration fees and what actually happens to those excess funds during years like this. So if I hear back, I'll share that information, but for tonight, I'm going to vote no.
Hey, Trish, thank you. Any other further discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Trish, all right. Thank you. Andy?
All right, 12, authorizing an increase in the salary for the Deputy Director Parks and Trails Department.
Motion.
Move it, Petrus.
Second,
Second, Mark.
discussion. Elaine?
Yeah, I just had a question. I saw some emails going around. The confusion or the question that I had that I asked at the meeting was this particular $6,000 increase accounted for and budgeted in the 2023 budget. And I got the impression that the answer was yes. And then I heard that the answer that perhaps it wasn't. There was no salary adjustment for this in the 2023 budget. So I don't understand what the situation is.
Well, Doug is on and said he would speak to it.
Doug,
Yes,
can you?
thank you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Elaine, for the question. So as we worked through the end of the budget process last year, as a retirement became a reality at the very end of November, beginning of December, and we were fortunate enough to promote someone internally to backfill that retirement. We did not at that point have the ability to then backfill the position that was vacated. Knowing that was the likely process that we were going to go through, which would mean that we would have, as it stands right now, already 2 months of salary that wasn't going to be expended. Since we weren't going to be being expended 2 months of salary, probably 3 by the time we fill that position, backfill that position. we consider those funds in the budget to be available for this. So when we referred to the budget funds are there, they're in the line, they are available for that position. That's where that position came from.
Okay, so it wasn't in the tentative budget as a salary adjustment, but you're saying you have unexpended funds in your 2023 budget for the first 2 months that would cover that, that increase?
That's correct. We will have approximately $9,000 available at the end of February. That obviously increases if we get to the end of March before we fill it. The delta there is $6,500. So that's how we accommodated for that in the upcoming budget.
It's just unspent salary money that you have that will cover the deficit. It didn't really get put in as a salary adjustment in the 2023 budget. That was the confusion, and that was sort of the question I was asking, but okay, I understand.
Yeah, and I understand that too, Elaine. When we do those budget sheets in July, those are the kind of a moving target, and as the changes in staffing happen throughout the year, we made an adjustment in kind of our planning, but probably not reflected in that because that had already been entered into the budget.
Okay, so there's no need to find $6,000 to put in your 0.1 because you have it in unexpended salary.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Andy, just so everybody knows, Shireen, myself, Lynn, and Doug were on a phone call this morning to try to get this straightened out. I think we did get it straightened out. It's exactly what Elaine is saying. It's in his budget. There'll be no more tax levy on it. It's in his budget already. He's taken that money from his budget. I hope that explains it to everybody.
Yeah, and it could have been my confusion too, because when I said, is it budgeted for in 23, the assumption I made is in the tentative budget it was, but this is unspent salary.
Exactly. Andy?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Got to vote on it.
Any further questions? If not, we'll vote on it. All in favor of PW 12?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, one thing.
Yep.
Now that we're done with them, just want to ask Chris if it's, I bundled the other ones, but I forgot 13 had to have 2/3.
Right.
Is it okay that it was in the bundle?
I'm sorry, Chris, but I would take it out because it doesn't need 2/3.
Actually, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think we should take it out because it does need 2/3.
Okay, so I'll redo 13 on its own then, authorizing an increase in part-time salary budget for the Ag Museum because that requires 2/3.
I'll second.
Discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we don't need the 2/3 as passed. Okay, thank you, Andy. Judicial and Public Safety, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judicial and Public Safety has 6 resolutions tonight. JP 9 was pulled at committee. I would offer JP 1 through JP 8 and JP 10 through JP 16 as a bundle. All pass through both committees unless someone would like one separated.
Move them.
Second. Discussion. For the whole bundle? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Legislature, Ledge 1, calling on the governor to reconsider the SFY, God, my 2024 state budget proposal that ends the Affordable Care Act, ACA, Enhanced Federal Medical Assistance Program. I could explain to you, Elaine can a little better, but we're talking well over $1 million. Federal pass-through to counties with the state proposing to keep this EMAP money to adhere to Congress intent and to continue to share this funding with the counties so we can do our part to make our state more affordable. In a nutshell, this was passed by Congress years ago, sent to the states, and then states were supposed to send it to the counties. Now the state wants to keep this money. So, any question?
Second, Basile.
Discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Ledge 2 is pulled. Ledge 3, requesting the State University of New York to amend or remove its COVID-19 vaccine policy.
Move it.
Second, Mark.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Science is shifting. Population is leaving our county.
The digital era is providing options to students living within our county so that they don't have to attend our community college. We need to remove this barrier, this unfounded blockade to entrance. I have a grandson who is starting college this year. I have been brainwashing him since he was 2 that Cayuga Community College is his #1 go-to. And I'd like to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Any first?
Yeah, I just want to say, I said enough at the last meeting, but the citizen put a article out a couple days ago, I guess it was, I don't remember. My first year here, so the school year of fall of 19, spring of 20, we had, don't quote me on the exact numbers, 2,600, I know I'm close. 4 years later, the fall of 19, spring of 20, when all this started, we were down 2330, right? For those that saw the article, so down around 300. Now, since then, in the last couple of years, we've dropped another 800. I know some argue, well, that's not just because of the mandate. Well, if it's not, you better be looking into something else then, because our colleges, that's the case, but it's happening to all community colleges. So, and I said it before, it's, everybody says follow the science. Well, they tell us, not, nobody take offense, because the CDC says 73% of us are overweight. I could lose 20 pounds, so I fall in that category. 41%, I think, of us are considered obese. Well, what's the #1 comorbidity? So we're saying that an 18-year or 19-year-old has to get it. But somebody over 50 that works at the college that might fall into the category of me needing to lose 20 pounds doesn't have to. That just doesn't make sense, people. So it's, if it's the union fighting it, not wanting the mandate, then I'm all for it, because it should be a choice. But we're mandating something that makes no sense. We're mandating it on, if you look at the science, the person who is least likely to be affected, and saying the person who's the most likely to be affected, you don't need it. That's not science. So I'll leave it there.
Okay, I know there's some people with their hands up, but I'm just gonna make a comment too. I will be supporting this, but I want everybody to know that this has nothing to do with Brian Durant or the members of the trustees of the board.
Absolutely not. I agree.
Right. I just want everybody to know that this goes to the state. They're the ones that are mandating this. We have a great college, we have a great president, and we have a great board of trustees up there. They have to follow the rules of the state. The state is what's making people do this, not our community college. I just want everybody to be clear about that. Chris, did you have your hand up? Or Mark did?
I did, and I really just kind of echoing Andy's words. I find it rather strange that we're forcing the students to come there to have the vaccination, and they're going to work in an environment, an enclosed environment, with a teacher or teachers in the classroom that is not required to have the vaccination. I don't know where the state's is coming up with any, and I'll use the word common sense on this. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I echo every word of what Andy said, and I support this 100%.
Brian, I know you had your hand up.
Am I off mute right now? Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I have agreements with the not going forward but at this point, can we focus on Cayuga County issues? We all are also we're elected by the people of Cayuga County, but we also can write letters to our senators. Some of us have direct phone numbers to our senators and state level. But to have our time focus on this when we have so many county-like issues is a little exhausting. I mean, we're talking about a SUNY organization that is mandated, that has a mandate. Why are we spending our taxpayers' dollars in our county discussing it, getting resolutions? and everything. I know we're advocating for our own children, but I don't even know if this, and I heard what Andy said about, and I agree with he said about 800, we're down a certain amount of students or whatever, but if you look at kids are not going to college like they used to, so why are we, I mean, it feels like we're attacking the board and everything and our local college executives. Why don't we just write letters to our senators and stop talking about these national issues that we can't control in state level issues? We have enough topics to talk about that's county related and working out budgets. Let's just focus on that. And then you could write your own letters. I think it's exhausting to write a letter that's it's a moot point. That letter coming from Cayuga County to a suing organization is going to fall on somebody's desk, and that's it. You guys have direct contact with different people. But I think this is a little bit of a waste of time to be discussing this. And that's just my opinion. But it's not the first time this has happened. We always talk about state and national level issues, and we have so many county issues we could just fix today and have conversations about. It's a lot of energy, wasted energy, in my opinion.
Andy, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'll agree to disagree with you, Brian, because it's our county college. And it's not just our kids that are going to it. I mean, this is supposed to go to the governor's office too. People ask us questions, who want us to ask higher up in the chain questions. I had a gentleman from Waterloo, New York, and if nobody wants to believe me, you can ask my wife, because I had the phone on speaker when he called me. So he's not even in our county, definitely not in my district, who saw this in the paper and thought it was great because his son has allergies towards whatever's in the vaccines. So he applied for a medical exemption and was denied. So I looked into that, and don't quote me again, but I think it was around 1,500 of those that have been denied. So to say this is a waste of time, it's a waste of time for kids to go out of state to, I mean, Casanova College closed here, a year or so ago. When we're talking about 2,600 students 8 years ago when I started, and we're now over 1,000 less than that. Where's the projection for where our college is going? And if this is having any effect, which I'm quite sure it is, you can argue that it's not. How long until more community colleges close because they're not getting the kids? And the SUNY colleges are losing. Yes, it's a double-edged sword. They've been losing some, but you can't tell me that they lost 300 in the first 4 years and then in the last couple of years that this has all been out. Those 800 that we went from 23 to 15, and that's the Citizen printing that. We all know that me and the Citizen aren't exactly buddies, so it ain't me talking. So if you want to blame that all on something other than the mandate, then we really got a problem in this county if we're losing that many students.
Hey, Dave, can I respond to that? Because I still have okay. You know, Andy, I respect that view, but let me tell you, I have a youth program. I'm also the program director at Booker T. Washington. I'm in contact with hundreds of parents. Not one of them has put on their goals to go to CCC and didn't go there because of the mandate. So if you guys are getting those calls, I'm not getting them. And I think that people are sitting home watching this and sitting there, think about if it's really an issue, these people will be coming to our city council meetings. They'll be coming to our legislative meeting. They'll be coming to the school. I want to know how many complaints there are, not the ones and twos that you might have got a phone call from. I'm not saying you're getting that, Andy, but I'm dealing with 100 of families. The kids are on their way to college, and I haven't heard it one time, not once. The only time I hear it is when I come here and hear it. Now, Lydia, I see you got your hand up. I'm sure you're getting the phone calls. I've heard you say it, but I'm telling you, I want people to think about this when they go home. Is this an issue? Because we're wasting a lot of time talking about it, in my opinion.
Lydia.
This is certainly an issue, Brian, and thank you for acknowledging the fact that this has been a conversation that we've been having for a while. This is a serious issue to many of my constituents. It's a health issue. They're concerned about the long-term effects, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but because of their very legitimate and becoming even more legitimate, because as I said, the science is shifting, they are saying things like, we will not. I have a constituent in the room whose son reached out to me. It's just, and this wasn't planned. She comes here once in a while, but her son reached out to me and said, please help. Because my son wants to play sports, he wants to go to CCC, but he doesn't want the effects. And she just whispered in my ear, are we allowed to talk about this? And I said, no, I'm sorry, you can't right now. But I can talk on your behalf and on behalf of the constituents who are concerned. And this blockade should not be in place. Thank you.
I know there was some other hands. Jim?
I'd like to move to a vote on roll call.
Second.
Yeah, all right. We need a motion. I mean, we had a motion, we discussed it. We'll call the roll call.
Second.
Mhm.
And debate and for vote, that
To the end of the debate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we need a motion. We've got a motion to end the debate. All in favor of that? Opposed? All right, so let's have a roll call for Ledge 3.
James Bastille,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
Yes.
Christopher Petras,
yes.
Aileen McNabb Coleman,
No.
Robert Shea,
Yes.
Hans Petcher,
Yes.
Mark Strong,
Yes.
Heidi Nightingale is excused, Elaine Daly,
No.
Trisha Kerr,
Yes.
Christina Colarco, no. Michael Didio,
Yes.
Brian Muldrow,
No.
David Gould.
Before I vote, I just want to say it one more time. This has nothing to do with our college president, our college board of trustees. These people are following rules and laws from Albany. So that's the people we need to blame if this is not ever going to happen again. So I will vote yes.
He's the one that asked us to-
Passed.
Okay, what do we got? Authorizing appointments to various boards. I think you all got the list if you've seen them.
Move it.
Second? Second?
Second.
Aileen? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?
Motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Second, Mark.
All in favor? But don't forget, everyone, we got to come back in here after executive session and things. Thank you.
Brittany's got to write all this down, so hang on.
I'll give my holiday 6
You get it, everybody?
holidays. They can have my 40, my 50 plus
Need a
dollars.
motion to come back in?
Yeah, already done.
All right, good.
Let's get this rolling.
Kim did it, or.
Can I bring up
Christina.
PW1 now is the way it is?
Yeah, well, we made a motion to come out of executive session. Now we got to make a motion to come into the regular meeting.
I thought I make a motion to come back in the regular meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
So our regular meeting continues. You both got, did everybody get both of these?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to read them over? I mean, we discussed them at length.
Yeah.
Okay, we all right to vote on this then?
Which one are we doing?
Which one you want moved, mister?
Doesn't
We
matter.
doing PW1 first?
I'm gonna bring PW1 forward.
All right, Annie's bringing that forward.
Second it.
Got any discussion? Everybody?
Hold up.
This is the one with the yellow.
Okay.
On it,
Yes,
this
you
is
have
the
to make
Bergman one.
yellow.
You have to make the amendments.
You have to make the amendments that are in yellow.
Right.
I thought that was all fixed.
Well, I move it with the amendments that are as made.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's what we need.
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, now all in favor of the resolution itself? What-
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Aye.
PW1.
PW1.
Move it.
A second
Second.
discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
That one.
Okay, the next one is, what is it?
The contract.
The contract.
That's the
Amanda?
DSPA contract.
We have a resolution number.
It doesn't have a number. It doesn't need
Doesn't
one.
need, doesn't need
No.
one?
Okay, I move the non-numbered resolution.
Everybody know that this is the contract for the road patrol.
I'll second it.
the non-numbered resolution.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a long day. Thank you.
No, I.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Control.
Can we always-
Amanda?
Sure, 'cause I'll drive you up.
Amanda? When you get a minute,
The gym was.
that chair is broken.
I would.
Yeah, I- this is-
Number